You think you're self-aware. That's the problem, because most of the time, you're actually stuck in your own head. Think about it. You reread a text 5 times, wondering if you sounded needy before finally deleting it. You replay a conversation from earlier today, judging every word you said, wondering if you came off as awkward. You write in your journal and notice you've written the same frustration last week, last month, maybe last year. Most of what you call self-awareness is actually obsession disguised as growth. And if you don't realize it, you'll keep orbiting yourself forever. By the end of this video, you know the difference between spinning in your own head and actually moving forward. We live in the most introspective generation ever. You can scroll through TikTok or Instagram for 30 seconds and diagnose yourself in every possible way. We label ourselves constantly as anxious, avoidant, overthinking, or burnt out. I do it too. You probably do too. We confuse noticing ourselves with improving ourselves. And here's the catch. Your brain rewards rumination. It tricks you into thinking you're growing. You think, I've reflected enough, but your behavior hasn't changed. And you're about to see exactly why thinking about yourself isn't always helping, and it will feel uncomfortably familiar. We've been told that self-awareness is the cheat code. Most people in our generation don't lack insight. We have language for everything. Attachment styles, trauma responses, burnout cycles, and avoidance patterns. We know ourselves, or at least we think we do. But here's what quietly happens. You start by reflecting on your behavior. Then you start evaluating it, and then you start monitoring it in real time. And at some point, without noticing, you split in two. There's the version of you living the moment and the version of you just watching it happen. I've done this more times than I can count. Walking into a room and thinking, am I coming across confident? Did that joke land? Should I talk more or less? Most people don't even realize they're doing it. It feels responsible, being self-aware. In fact, it even feels mature, but it changes how we move. Instead of acting, we perform. Instead of engaging, we calculate. And instead of responding, we assess. And slowly, everything becomes about us. Feedback isn't information, it's a verdict. Silence isn't neutral, it's rejection. A mistake isn't just a moment anymore, it becomes our identity. We don't just experience events, we translate them into statements about who we are. That's where self-awareness quietly mutates into self-preoccupation or self-obsession. And the cost is subtle but heavy. We start hesitating more. We begin to overcorrect. We become careful instead of bold. And that's the thing. Most people say they want confidence, but confidence cannot survive constant internal surveillance. The more we monitor ourselves, the less freely we move, and then we wonder why we feel stuck, despite understanding ourselves so well. For a long time, I thought I was growing. I could explain my patterns clearly. I knew why I reacted the way I did. I could even trace behaviors back to childhood dynamics. It felt sophisticated, being self-aware. But my results weren't changing. There was the same overthinking, same hesitation, same almosts. And that's when something uncomfortable clicked. Understanding myself had become a substitute for improving myself. And most people, a lot of people, fall into this without realizing it. Self-awareness, real self-awareness, reduces friction. Self-obsession increases it. One simplifies your next step and the other multiplies identity questions. If reflection leads to clarity and action, it's growth. But if reflection leads to more self-analysis and no behavioral shift, it's just rumination, just with better vocabulary. The shift for me was small, but it paid dividends. I stopped asking, why am I like this? And I started asking, what would someone effective do next? The question is less dramatic, it's less philosophical, but it forces movement and action. And if you've noticed, a common theme in my videos is taking action and moving forward. Movement pulls attention away from identity and toward impact. And ironically, when attention shifts outward, confidence starts to build naturally. Not because you solved yourself, but because you stopped staring at yourself long enough to act. So, how can we tell the difference? Not by how deep the reflection feels and not by how many insights we collect, but by what changes afterward. A lot of people think growth is measured in realizations. It really isn't. It's measured in adjustments. Real self-awareness does 3 things. First, it leads to behavior change. Not eventually, not theoretically, but soon. Within days, something shifts. Tone, timing, effort, and boundaries. If nothing moves, we weren't reflecting, we were looping. Second, it reduces mental weight. After real clarity, things feel simpler. There's one next step, one conversation to have, one email to send, or one habit to adjust. Self-obsession, on the other hand, expands the narrative. There's going to be more labels, more explanations, and more self-questioning. And in fact, you will feel heavier, not lighter. And third, real self-awareness shifts attention outward. People who feel confident aren't constantly analyzing themselves. They're absorbed in what they're building. Their attention isn't trapped in how am I being perceived, but rather focused on what needs to be done. And here's the paradox. The more preoccupied we are with ourselves, the smaller our world becomes. The less preoccupied we are, the freer we move. Real introspection is not about becoming hyper-aware of who you are. It's about clearing just enough internal noise to engage fully with what's in front of you. Because we don't need endless insight, we need direction and action. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself isn't to understand yourself more deeply, it's just taking steps to move forward. So if you've ever felt stuck in a loop of self-obsession, stop asking what it says about you and ask yourself, what would someone effective do next? Then do that. This is Rardo, and I'll see you in the next one.